Hello and welcome to the Penny D podcast. This is for you if you would like to sit for 20 to 30 minutes every month, relaxing your mind and just listening to my ramblings about life, love, happiness and much more. I'm your host, Penny Davis, and welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Penny. Thank you very much for inviting me.
So I am absolutely fascinated in what you do. Would you like to tell our listeners what it is you do?
So I'm a time management and work-life balance coach. So for me, that's all about helping people plan, prioritize, and not procrastinate so that they can build their businesses without burning out, without compromising on family life, without compromising on that time for their own health, well-being, and personal interests.
Right. And do you think it is possible to build a successful business or organize your life in such a way that you can be really productive and not burn out?
Absolutely, definitely. But it's about being clear about what you're trying to achieve and what's going to get you there, not get caught up in all the distractions that the current modern world would love to send our way.
And when you say that, I think immediately of social media as a classic example, a massive time vampire, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly one of the biggies. And of course, they have put a lot of money into making sure that they are attractive and luring and are sticky once we get there. But I'm not going to just point the finger at them. There are lots of other ways that we allow ourselves to get put. So things like WhatsApp, fantastic as a way of keeping in touch with friends and family. It's just remembering whether it's a tool or our boss, and it's choosing when do I want to give my time, my energy to it, and when do I want to stay focused.
Right. And you mentioned WhatsApp. I use an app on my phone that switches off my WhatsApp, my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Twitter feeds on an evening after 9. Oh, but it has gone to 10 again. I've got to confess there, Natalie. And it doesn't bring them back online on my phone until 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Perfect to outsource that sort of decision making because, especially in the evening, we're a little bit tired. Our decision making is slipping. Decision fatigue is kicking in. So our ability to resist the lure and turn it off is definitely on the wane. So making the decision ahead of time to use those sorts of apps where when your thinking brain is like, right, yeah, I do want to keep in touch. I do want a few cat videos, but I don't want any more of them than 30 minutes, or I don't want them after 9, 10, whatever you decide. And yeah, I use that myself. So for me, I don't set a time of day, but I set a time limit. So I've only got 10 minutes on Instagram. So it makes me very focused about who do I really want to be following? What do I really want? And it's like, yep, got my fix, 10 minutes, I'm out. So it's picking and choosing, and it makes you super focused when you go in so that you don't go down the cute cat video rabbit.
Oh, it is a rabbit hole. What do you do about your WhatsApp then, Natalie? Do you have that on a rationing basis, or do you allow times on it?
So that one, because you can sort of get quite granular with WhatsApp. So there's a group I'm in, and a lot of the time I mute that because I do not need to hear the ping, 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 ping throughout the day. But when I go into WhatsApp in the evening, I can see the little green dot and go in and do all the messages in one go so that it makes it nice and efficient. You can also set different tones for different people within WhatsApp. So for the kids, I have a specific notification sound. So if that goes, it's like, oh, that's the kids. They are a priority for me. I will just double check that they're not stranded at the bus stop or whatever it is. But all the other pings are like people that, yes, I want to get to as soon as is convenient. me, I know that if it was really urgent and it was my dad, he'd pick up the phone and call me and say, you know, I've fallen off the ladder. Can you come and help me? Type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's really getting into the nuts and bolts. Only takes a few minutes to go in and make those changes, but makes such a difference to knowing, yeah, I can absolutely ignore it. Now, one thing that people do sometimes get a little worried about is if they're turning off notifications is, I'm going to miss out. But that's because up till now, because they've been in and out throughout the day, they haven't allocated time for it. And so for me, it's that, yeah, once dinner is done and cleared up, knock myself on the sofa, and then I'll have 30, 45 minutes of going through those sorts of apps, catching up, not missing out on anything. But it allows me to release that idea of FOMO because I'm not missing out. I'm just delaying it till 7.
Yes. We call that, my husband and I, we say, okay, should we have half an hour of phone faffing? You know, when we get in, and that's, yeah, downtime. Now, another great tip somebody showed me the other week was to turn their phone black and white.
Oh, yes. I can imagine that is because I know that when I go through the apps, sometimes I click on the wrong one because it's similar color.
Yeah.
So I can absolutely see that. But for me, there's also an element of, we tend to put lots of stuff on our homepage.
Mhm.
And anything that you don't want to find yourself accidentally clicking on, being lured in by, like, no, make it that you've got to go 3 layers deep to find that app so that you don't go in for one thing and just and notice the little dot and go, just have a quick look whilst I'm here.
That's a great tip. I'm going to do that when I get off the phone. Yeah, I think the black and white thing is for people who maybe don't restrict their apps. And you know, it's quite remarkable. I looked at her phone and it looks really boring and
Yes.
unappealing. And you
Yes.
don't want to keep looking at stuff on it because
Yeah.
it's not very stimulating, I guess, is
Yeah.
some of the things.
And you probably don't notice the little notification dots as much on that sort of black and white grayscale either. Whereas normally those dots really, they've been made to stand out and
Yeah.
try and entice you back in.
I mean, I am terrible for switching all of my notifications off. Now, how long would you estimate that people waste each day on unnecessary phone faffing?
That varies so hugely. And one of the first things I do when I'm working with clients is encourage them to do a time audit. Pretty much everyone resists. And yes, I can explain the benefits of why. And then eventually they do it and they go, yes, you are right. So it's such a useful exercise because it stops you doing some of your bad habits. Now, whether that's phone faffing or something else, because if you know you've got to write down or put into Toggle or something like that, 15 minutes on Facebook here, 15 minutes on Instagram there. And so you stop the bad habit because you don't want to own to it.
I love that. Yeah.
You also, the other benefit is when you start to see how long tasks actually take, because as humans, we are spectacularly bad at guessing how long a task takes. We tend to underestimate, we overcommit in our day, then things get dropped. And it's a little bit random as to what gets dropped instead of it being of our choosing. We often don't notice the on-ramp and off-ramp activity. So if you think about taking the kids to school, it's only a 10-minute walk to school. But actually, the 10 minutes of nagging the kids to get their shoes on, to find the lost book bag, the lunch, etc. And then when you get back, want to take the shoes off, need to make a cup of tea, need to nip for a pee, etc. And actually, that school run is 30 minutes. Repeat that for a few activities during the day. Wonder why you're overcommitting. And then the third benefit is spotting the patterns that evolve during the week. So it's like, my day's very split up because I've got client call here, and then the next day it's over there, and it's looking at how you can batch things, sometimes by location, sometimes by the person, sometimes by the mindset of it. So there might be several different admin bits, but they're the same mindset. So it's like, how could I batch that so that I can hit a flow?
Yeah.
And it makes it easier. But people resisted doing a time audit because, I've got another thing to do. And it's like, yes, but it's an investment of your time. Or they think, it's not a typical week. And there really isn't such a thing. For most of us, there isn't a typical week. What we tend to do is spot the differences from week to week instead of noticing the similarities. So it's like, yeah, just do it for a week, even if it's for the bits of the day that are consistent. Then you'll spot how to make those consistent bits more flowy, more efficient, etc. So back to your original question, how long do they spend fasting? Don't know, but that's why I get them to do a time audit, because how long, where in the day, and on what they fast varies so much. It's an individual thing. So I would want to give a cookie cutter response, and I always want to help them find their Achilles heel.
I think it's definitely safe to say that most of us, maybe speaking for myself, waste at least an hour. It's remarkable that when you are maybe scrolling, doom scrolling, how quickly time seems to run away. And then, like you said, the distraction of your mind, the amount of times I go into an app to get something. My big one is going in to check a meeting of can you meet at this time? Coming out of the app that I'm communicating in to check my diary. It might take half an hour to get back in, and then I've forgotten what I'm doing. And we've really got to be disciplined on it, haven't we? Now, a word from our sponsor. Do you want to address the signs of aging or menopausal skin? Does your skin feel dry or sensitised? Try my very own brand of skincare. Skin Goal Skincare is a powerful, clinical, yet luxurious range of products, all designed with you in mind. Try it today. Get 15% off your first order. Use the code podcast15. Enjoy. Now back to the show. Another thing that I've observed as a woman, and I run, multiple businesses, when I do become very disciplined around my time and put safeguards around. So, for example, I'm rarely in my email. I only go in a couple of times a week, actually. Or I might check once a day if there's stuff going on. People who are working with me find that annoying, that I won't be dictated by. I remember, I think it was Dan Martell. I don't know if you know him.
I used to buy your time back book.
Yes, and he said something like, your email is a to-do list that somebody else writes for you that you then have to comply with, and it really stayed with me. And I'm very disciplined on that. Now, have you got any advice for people who are trying to put these boundaries in around their time, but people around them are uncomfortable that they are doing this?
Yes. It's I totally agree with Dan Martell there, and I tend to put it as your inbox is other people's priorities.
Yeah.
And so it does take time. It doesn't take time to put boundaries in. That's just a choice on your part. But it takes time to train people. And of course, one, humans resist change. Two, this is probably inconveniencing them a little bit. So absolutely, they're going to have some thoughts. So it's just being very clear on what the benefits to you are, because it is a trade-off. I can trade the comfort of fitting in with other people for the comfort of doing my priorities. But each of them has a price to pay in the form of discomforts. Either I feel rubbish at the end of the day because I didn't get done what I wanted to get done, or I can feel uncomfortable that other people might, notice the word might, have a thought about the fact that I didn't do what they wanted when they wanted. But I think if you put the boundaries in, if you can give people the heads up, because if they're used to you checking your inbox 7 times a day and instantly replying, then it's going to catch them by, they're used to being able to drop things to you last minute and knowing, oh, good old Penny, she always turns it round. But if you give them the heads up, I'm only going to be going in these times. My response time will be 48, 72 hours. Therefore, you need to tell me by Friday if you want it by Wednesday. And this doesn't just apply to email. A lot of clients that I work with are running teams. And so it's that if they've got team members who can drop in through their door at any time, they have half a thought and they go and see the boss. Whereas it's like, okay, let's make it that there is a weekly, depends on the team member, So then instead of thinking, oh, I've got a question, I'll go and ask Penny now. It's like, oh, well, I've got a free Friday afternoon meeting with Penny. I'll save it. So you naturally batch it. And because they've got that meeting ahead of it, it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to see Penny till the following Friday. What will I need from Penny between those two Fridays so that I can preempt it? So it removes the need for them. And it usually takes 2 or 3 weeks to bed in as both parties adjust and find the ground rules. But it does take out a lot of the interruptions, allowing you much more deep work focus time.
I love that. You remind me there of my staff in my clinic, and the more staff I got, the more interruptions I got. I got to the point where I had to actually hire a workspace, even though I have a big clinic and office and all of that, to get away from the interruptions. And in the end, I resolved it by doing a weekly supervision session with them. Like you said, you remind me that I don't have that structure or stuff anymore. And I would give them 20 minutes every week to come to me with anything that was going on, and anything urgent could go to my PA. But things, operational stuff that wasn't urgent, I would sit and take their questions, take them away.
By spacing it out, it's amazing how often they resolve it themselves. It was, I don't want to say laziness that it was just like, oh, Penny can answer it. But actually, if you give that space, they start to kind of, oh, I could do it. And even if they don't solve it, they at least come to you with some solutions because they've had time to think about it.
Yeah. I used to have a manager, I remembered, because of how he was, we would never take him a problem, we'd take him a solution.
Or 3.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, we had. So if somebody was wanting to come and work with you, who would be your typical client, if there is such a thing? And what would they gain back by working with you, Natalie?
So there's 2 most common profiles that I tend to work with. So there's the solopreneur. She's maybe got a VA doing a few hours or a bookkeeper, but by and large, she's the one working both in and on the business. So she's juggling the clients, marketing, admin, finances, etc. And she's got to a point where her client base is built up, and now she's struggling to balance working on versus in, very often because the loose processes she had when she had all the time in the world because there weren't many clients, that's no longer really working for her, and it's now spilling into home time. So she's looking for time management techniques to be more efficient so that she can still go after the bigger dream for her business whilst maintaining that work-life balance or blend, depending on how you like to look at it. Second profile that I tend to work with, she's got a small team, which she thought would free up her time. But now she's actually finding she's busier than ever. There's still the stuff that she needs to deliver, but now on top of that, she's managing the team, leading the team, training the team, etc. And she's not only got to hold her vision, but she's got to convey that to the team. And a big shift for her is stepping into that CEO role, learning to let go, learning to delegate. So in terms of what they get out of it, it's clarity around what deserves their time, but what would like their time, what they feel they should be doing with their time. So it's that clarity of what's the vision that I am going for, just business, but what's the business look like? What's my personal life look like? What's my health look like? What's my family look like? Getting clear on that vision so that she's got a filter for how am I going to invest the next hour of my time? Is that best use of my time?
Yeah, because you can't just say I need time back. It's got to be for something, hasn't it? And like you say, a lot of people, I know with myself, the reasons I started was I was that second woman. I had a team of 5 or 6 people, but found I was spending all of my time managing them, and I wasn't getting any time back, actually. If anything, I fell into that trap. So that began my journey a couple of years back, looking at productivity. And the more I looked into it, the more it fascinated me how much time you can get back and
Mm.
how much headspace it can free up. And when you know what we know about it,
Yeah.
how much happier your life can be, because it actually gives you more free pleasure time back, doesn't it? By
Yeah.
batching your work. So for anybody listening to this who's determined to get their time back, Natalie, where would you say would be a great place for any of our listeners to start if they want to think about this and get that utopia of that quality downtime? Where's the first step?
So I think the first step is just planning a day. As if you can nail the day, nail 7 of them in a row, you've suddenly nailed a week. And yes, it's good to have a big picture to inform the day. But for most people, starting with planning their day is a really great place to start noticing the little time leaks. And if anyone does need help with that, I've got an anti-overwhelm daily productivity planner that they can grab from either my website or my LinkedIn. So that's where I would start small, build the foundations, and gradually work up bigger.
Right. So just look at where I like that phrase, time leaks.
Yes.
Yeah. So understand where their time's leaking out from, and then look at how they can use strategies to plug those leaks of time. Yes. And have you got any nice stories or case studies where somebody has found a lot of time back and really got something achieved in that time?
The client I was working with this morning, just because she's top of mind. So when she came into my world, yep, she was running her own business, probably 6 to 8 employees, probably 500,000 on turnover. But her husband did the school runs, he did the cooking, she'd be off to the office early, she'd screech onto the driveway just as the kids were heading to bed. And over time, we got it that no, she was actually, walking the dog in the morning. She was home for dinner a couple of days a week. And now, in terms of this morning, we were looking at how she's planning to only work 2 days a week during the Easter holidays.
Wow.
She hasn't worked at all for the last couple of weekends. So, yeah, real shift there.
Oh, that's really lovely to hear, Natalie. And if anybody wants to work with you, where is the best place for them to go and find out more?
So I tend to hang out mainly on LinkedIn. So posting, more than happy for people to drop into the DM, start a conversation, ask me any questions that they've got. And in the resources section, you'll see a couple of freebies that they can download to get them started.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your precious time, Natalie.
Thank you so much for having me, Penny.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I've had a great time. I hope you've enjoyed it. And again, I would love to hear back from you. So all that leaves me is to say, have fun, be happy, and join me next time. Don't forget to hit subscribe for all of my episodes.